Ladies and gents, PepperBelly here, and in this video I'm going to be discussing Tom Clancy's The Division's open beta that everybody had access to over the weekend. And hopefully, most of you guys got to try it out. Otherwise, it's kind of a shame, because it was fun, for one, and also you'd be able to determine whether or not you actually like the direction this game is going in. Because everyone's opinions vary, and although I like it, most of you, especially those of you guys that are subscribed to my channel for tactical shooters and realistic military shooters and stuff like that, probably do not give a rat's ass about this kind of game. Although I thoroughly enjoy it. Of course, like I said, opinions vary, and being able to try something out before you buy is obviously a good way to go, which is why it kind of bums me out why demos aren't really a thing anymore. But that's an entirely other discussion. I'm not going to try to plague this video with that. I want to talk about what has changed in the open beta from the closed beta, which honestly isn't much. They've made some additional tweaks to the dark zone and how that plays out, so a lot of the exploits that were there beforehand and how the whole rogue system worked is changed around a little bit, but still not good enough in my mind. It needs improvement in almost every single way possible, and that's not saying that what's there is bad, it's just saying that what's there right now is still exploitable by a lot of people. Now, with the open beta came a brand new mission, which took place in a subway, which was really cool, which allowed you to unlock the tech branch, actually, for your main base of operations, which allowed you to get an additional ability that no one was able to get beforehand in the closed beta. This allowed us to get something called the turret. It's like an autonomous turret you can throw down, and it'll engage enemies within proximity of it. This is one of the exploits that we've encountered recently, where basically you throw this thing down in the dark zone and any player, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come running up to it, shoot it once, put one bullet into it. Just like you would to aggravate a player. Like you shoot a player, you don't go rogue, but you still can hit him and deal damage, and it'll kind of like pop up on a screen indicating that, oh, okay, this guy shot me, but he's not rogue yet, so what do I do? Retaliate or run away? Well, you can't really do that when you have a turret. So essentially what happens is you shoot this turret, and it just automatically starts engaging you. And because of this, they go rogue. The person who owns the turret and everybody in their party goes rogue. This has been exploited tenfold in the open beta, to the point where it's gotten so ridiculous that everybody who is smart enough to know how to tie their shoes stopped using that ability. And those who still thought it was useful just got killed repeatedly and senselessly, and it's just not good news. So obviously, there are a lot of things that need to be balanced from what we got to experience, and this is the part that kind of gets me worried. It's the fact that we are encountering newer issues when they're giving us slightly more things to do in the game. Like, we're getting a very, very small slice of the pie here, alright? Like, we're getting... This is a demo. This has ceased becoming a beta because I really doubt a lot of the issues here will be completely overhauled within the next 2 weeks until the game is released. But obviously they're going to be listening to the feedback and seeing what's going on. The problem here, the issue that I have and what worries me, is the fact that they added one additional mission which allowed us to unlock an additional skill set, and that skill set turned out to be heavily exploitable. And we don't even know what the rest of the game's gonna have. So the overall balancing issues that the game has in the long run, none of us really know how it's going to play out. We really don't. And that has me worried because the game's gonna come out, it's probably gonna be an absolute clusterfuck for like a good month. Until they start to figure things out and be like, okay, this is exploitable, this is a bad mechanic. Like, we already seen so many issues with the closed beta, but like I said, most of them have been tweaked. Like, some of the ladders and areas that you can get to take advantage of being a rogue no longer existed. Going out of bounds in certain locations no longer existed, although there were still some that were exploitable. Manhunts. They tweaked the way Manhunt works, so basically it actually counts down now when you become at the Manhunt level, which is tier 5 of killing, I think, like 5 people. You get to rank 5 as a rogue, and then beforehand, every time you killed someone or got shot, your timer would reset, and that was completely bullshit, because it was essentially impossible to defend yourself as a rogue afterwards. You had to run away non-stop, and now they addressed it so that it still counts down once you reach rank 5. And now you can kill in defense of yourself and your countdown timer will still go down. It'll just momentarily freeze. So there's that. They've readdressed some of those things, but of course, like I said, we don't really know how the whole game is going to look. It's too complicated to say right now because it's going to be packed full of content and abilities and things to do and player mechanics and gear. It's going to be so hard to determine, especially with builds, you know, the way builds are going to work. Right now, there's not a whole lot of builds we can go off of. All we really got is health and DPS. There's nothing we can really do because we don't have enough skills to really utilize the actual skill attribute. So the unpredictability, of course, is going to lead to some concern, but we'll have to see when the game actually comes out before we can really fully, obviously, judge things and determine whether or not the game actually flows in an organic manner. It actually works. It's balanced. We won't know until we get to play it. Anyway, other than that, I have put in a tremendous amount of time into this beta because I wasn't able to do that in the last beta. I was only able to put in about 12 hours, and I had to really crunch that in because I had very limited time to actually play it. I subsequently had like 2 days, actually less than 2 days. I had about a day. I had less than 24 hours to get 12 hours in to experience it. And now I actually got to play for about 23 hours, so I got to experience a lot more. I got some high-end gear. I got all the best gear you can pretty much get in the beta right now, and I had a pretty solid build, and I was able to kill people very effectively, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, so being able to experience all of it, I came to more conclusive assessments on what I actually like about the game. Now, I know in my last video I said how it's a Tom Clancy title. The name Tom Clancy's in there doesn't really make sense because it's an RPG and you're shooting people like 80 million times in the head. And it's kind of weird because when I'm playing this game, the aesthetics, the look of the game kind of just escapes my mind and isn't really part of it. It's like traditionally what a lot of MMO players do. What happens to you when you play a game like this? You kind of go into this trance, this state of mind where nothing makes sense. All that matters is stats and loot. And that's exactly what I got from this game. I'm just thinking in my mind, stats and loot. That's gear, getting all the stuff that you need to be able to deal more damage and survive longer in firefights. That's all you think about. And then because of that, you're not really focusing on the fact that it takes 80 billion bullets to a human being's bare face to kill them. You're kind of just focused on the gameplay itself. And being able to forget that, I think, is a really good thing because it may be easier for some and less easy for others. Like, I know a lot of people can look at this and be like, man, I can't get over it. I can't get over the fact that it takes, like, more than one bullet to a bare face, to a head, to kill somebody. But when I'm playing it, and you're rolling around with your friends, which I finally got to do now, which I got to finally play with someone who I actually know personally, it's very easy to forget and get lost within the game mechanics themselves, the RPG nature of the game, which to me is a good thing. It reminded me a lot of the days I played World of Warcraft. In fact, this same individual, we used to play World of Warcraft a ton in the past, back when we were like in high school, you know? And it reminded me a lot of the times we'd go on raids and play PvP where you're running around, you're worried about, okay, you gotta use this and use that, like certain abilities, and then deal out damage and get on the flanks and you use certain tactics. And combining shooter mechanics with an RPG system is a really fun and rewarding experience because it allows for tactics that otherwise wouldn't really work to come into play in this game. You know, like, you can take real-world tactics and make a firefight feel like a firefight because you're actually engaging for longer periods of time. Instead of thinking of it like a person's actually absorbing all those bullets, think of it like you're actually in a prolonged firefight, and one of those bullets eventually actually deals the striking blow to kill the person or whatever. Like, it's kind of a weird way of looking at it, but it's essentially what I'm just trying to convey. It's something like what Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway did, basically, where your screen's turning red. It doesn't mean you're taking damage, it means that you're getting near the point where a bullet's about to strike you. You're entering a danger state. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get across here. Whether that makes sense to you, I don't really know. But the point of the matter is, I like it. I actually really like this game, although it has enormous amounts of issues that really need to get freaking cracked down on by Ubisoft, because it's just, it can be really rage-inducing. There could be some things that happen that just make you so mad. Like, cheating is way too easy. I've run into way too many cheaters that can just run everywhere and kill people endlessly like it's nothing. It's just, it's so ridiculous. Storing the character information, your actual character, on the client side, on the, you know, the PC, on your PC, you can just go in there and tweak files. It's like playing World of Warcraft or playing any other MMO and you're like, I'm gonna just go into the files of my game and make myself a level 70 and give myself all the best gear. Imagine being able to do that. I remember thinking that when I was young. You know, I'm a kid playing World of Warcraft. I'm like, man, I could just go into the game files, find my character file, and change myself to level 70. Fuck the grind, right? It doesn't work. You can't do it. And the Division needs to do something like that as well. It needs to enforce an anti-cheat measure to prevent this kind of shit from happening. And I don't know what they have in store. Like, nobody knows. There's no official word on how they're going to handle it. They're aware of it. That's all they've really said. Oh, we know there's cheaters. Okay, cool. Well, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Because I really would like to know. Because you got to do something, otherwise this game is going to die on PC. And neglecting the PC is probably the worst thing you can do, considering your fucking track record for releasing PC releases, Ubisoft. Just saying. And the fact that I actually very much enjoy this game, and I'm thinking of purchasing it, I probably will end up purchasing this game. I would hate to see this game go the way of Titanfall and Evolve and Star Wars Battlefront, where the player numbers are dwindling and no one gives a shit because there's too many problems. And that's something that we do not need because the core gameplay is good. And having it tainted by cheaters or exploits is just not a good way. It's not good for business. Not good for players. It's not good for business. So do something about it. Lastly, what I want to talk about is something you've probably noticed in the gameplay, which is a lack of keyboard commands. Sometimes some of the gameplay I've have on in this video has been like flipping back and forth between keyboard and controller, and I've been actually using the Xbox 360 controller quite a bit for this open beta just to kind of see how it feels. In fact, I kind of wanted to know how some of my friends felt playing this on PS4, so I capped my frame rate at 30 and I was playing with the controller and I was like, good God, you poor, poor souls. This type of horror, I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, but they knowingly bought into it. I don't understand. But anyway, 30 FPS is no way to... Anyway, point being, the controller is actually pretty solid in this game. The fact that I was able to consistently kill enemy players who were using a keyboard and mouse with my Xbox 360 controller, in a game like this where Twitch shooting isn't exactly the way to win things, it's an RPG, so just getting rounds on target is what matters. DPS matters, positioning matters, all that stuff matters, so using a controller is actually feasible. You can actually go up against a competent mouse and keyboard user and win a firefight. I've done it several times, and I have the gameplay to show it and prove it. So, I was actually pleasantly surprised. This game is kind of the perfect game to kind of just chill back on a couch and play. It's more of a relaxed environment. Although it's high intensity, it doesn't really need you to be having a keyboard and mouse. Although, I would definitely say keyboard and mouse 100%. Like, it's definitely better in the long run. Overall, the precision and the keys you have at your disposal, you can't obviously really compare to a keyboard and mouse because it's better, faster, more accurate, all that stuff. But the actual controller is kind of everything just there on the controller itself, you know, every button within like reach. Keyboard, obviously sometimes you have to reach a little bit further, but with the controller, everything's kind of just there, nice and tight. And, you know, aiming down your sights and then zooming in with your scope is a lot easier than having to, like, right-click and then middle-click the mouse, you know, the scroll wheel, and then have to shoot after that. I don't know. They both have their trade-offs, just like they actually do in the general sense of actually playing games. A lot of people that play PC games will set up their PC in their living room, or they'll stream it to their living room or somewhere else, right? And you'll have a controller and just lay back and chill. Different input devices cater to different situations and how you feel like playing in the moment. And the fact that this game has some of the best integrated mouse and keyboard support I've seen alongside controllers, the fact that I can use both simultaneously, I can run around with my controller and aim with my mouse. Not that it's really practical and you should do that, the point is they work in tandem, you can do that. And to me, that's one of the coolest fucking things someone can put into a PC game. Have every peripheral item work flawlessly at the same time together without interacting and destroying one another in the process. Because a lot of times you'll be playing with a controller and then you have to click the mouse to activate the keyboard or anything like that. You don't have to do that. It works together. And it's seamless. And that whole experience is just so much better. So if you're in the mood for just laying back in your chair and chilling, you want to use a controller, you can do that. You want to play with a mouse and keyboard for a little bit more hardcore precision and experience to kill people better, you can do that too, but don't think that controllers are completely out of the equation because they could still be competent in a fight in this game. So I have experienced. Anyway, that pretty much covers everything I've thought about after playing the beta. If anything else comes to mind, I may make up some more videos. I may even put out some more of me and my friend playing the game with some of the gameplay highlights I have. Maybe, maybe not, don't really know. I'm not 100% on that yet. And that pretty much wraps it up. If you guys have actually gotten your hands on the open beta and you've played it, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on it, because obviously my thoughts are my own, and obviously we have a little community here, so I'd like to hear what you guys think if you've gotten your hands on it, because hopefully you did, because it's an open beta. It's like downloading a demo for like 4 days, 3 days, 3-day demo, which is not enough time to demo something, but anyway, whatever. My name's been PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today on this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Fuck you!